who are some breakout players I should be watching? I got some for you. Truthfully, I meant to do this 2 weeks ago, and we got bombarded. I don't remember what news broke, but I didn't get to it. So you know what this means. Paper pop time. These are going to be some big-time players this year. Mozzie Smith is one that I need you to know. Michigan fans know him because he started for him last year, but because of bigger names along the defensive front, you probably didn't hear his name a lot. He's a defensive tackle for Michigan. What's everyone talking about with Michigan right now? You know the answer to this. It's who they lost. And therefore, if you're not picking them to do anything special this year, it's because of who they lost. And my whole theory this time of year is I only want to hear you tell me who a team lost if you're going to tell me who they have. This guy, Michigan, has. And he started for him last year, tests off the charts. When you talk to folks around Michigan and ask them who are the most impressive physical specimens on this team, it doesn't take too long before they start talking about Mr. Smith here. He played 14 games last season, had 37 total tackles. He is great versus the run, but if you also look at some of the advanced numbers, he has one of the best get-offs and therefore one of the best pass rush presences of anyone in his position in America. He is poised to break out this year for Michigan defensively, and if I'm right, and they're right there in the playoff mix towards the end of the year, and you're trying to figure out how did they replace Aiden Hutchinson? How did they replace? Well, it's probably not because they put another first-round edge rusher out there. It's probably because in the aggregate they made up that production with guys like Mozzie Smith. What about Jared Ivey? Talked about him a couple of months ago. I need to reiterate because the season's about to start. Jared Ivey as a defensive end was at Georgia Tech. Now he's at Ole Miss. It's an under-the-radar pickup because everyone's focused on the quarterback situation with Jackson Dart there at Ole Miss, but this is a big pickup for them defensively. Ole Miss surprisingly deep along the defensive front. I don't think people associate them with that. He played 13 games. He started 13 games over 2 years for Georgia Tech. Listen to Lane Kiffin talk about him. You can tell they know what they have. They prefer the rest of the nation not to know, but he's got elite height, weight, pass rush combo. And I told you, NFL scouts, as they make their way around the SEC, they'll talk about guys. Well, the NFL scouts around the South are talking about Zach Evans, and they're talking about Jared Ivey. Those are the Ole Miss guys they're talking about. So he can play anywhere they really need him to along the defensive line, and he's not a guy they're going to have to ride every snap. So they're not going to have to wear him out because they've got good enough depth, which, again, I don't think many people associate with Ole Miss. I want to go to, you know where I'm going to go? I don't think we've been here in quite a while. Washington State for a second. There's an interesting dynamic unfolding here. I've talked to you about Cam Ward, the quarterback transfer, but I've talked to you about him enough. But Dejean Stribling is a wide receiver there who's not new. He had 44 catches last year, 471 yards, but not a national name. They are shifting offensively up there and evolving offensively into sort of a product that's going to chuck it around constantly. They've got the quarterback to do it, and they also have a 6'4", 205-pound receiver here that can run extremely fast, never drops balls, very, very good reception guy. And I think that because they lost their top two receivers and you've got this pretty unique quarterback emerging wide receiver combo, if there's some disruptor out in the Pac-12, you're probably looking at it here. It's probably Washington State, and it's probably due in large part to Dejean Stribling at wide receiver putting up much bigger numbers than you thought was possible because you may not have even known his name before the season started. Let's go all the way across the country to Clemson. They lost a couple of corners to the NFL draft. So Booth, Goodrich, both out. Well, you're going to hear a lot of folks talk about who they lost. Who do they have? They've got Nate Wiggins. And Nate Wiggins is a guy, you talk to Michigan or talk to Clemson's offensive players, they'll tell you he's kind of like the best player that we've gone against. I'm glad he's on our side. Former four-star guy from Atlanta. He wasn't an unknown. He's been up there for a full year. So he's coming in. He played 128 snaps last year, so he's not totally green. Had a great spring. Coaches raved about him. Had a great summer. So he's got his head fully on straight. Knows the opportunity in front of him. Got a new coordinator, but promoted from within up there. So it's not anything new. He's not having to wrap his head around a new system. That guy's got all ACC corner potential. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's not on any preseason list, but it would not surprise me at all to see him there come season's end. And also a guy that we talked about last week at Alabama who has a name that bears repeating right quick is Treyshawn Holden. Treyshawn Holden's in the enviable position of playing for the best team in the country, at least the #1 rated team in the country, and also playing a position that's premium for them now, wide receiver. It wasn't that 10 years ago. It very much is now. And so it's a proven system they have there. And the other benefit for him is he just has to be a weapon. He doesn't have to be the weapon. Because you got Ja'Cory Brooks there, and you got Jermaine Burton, and a couple of young guys. Isaiah Bond could flash for them. Kobe Prentice could flash for them. Maybe if JoJo Earl gets back from injury, he could flash for him. And so Treyshawn Holden is just a 6'3", 215-pound guy, very, very deceptive speed, long strider. And he's played some for him. He's had a great fall camp. You keep hearing his name, and so he's going to get an opportunity. Now, what he does with it is up to him. But this could be a guy that when we start watching Alabama advance, and everyone right now, preseason, they're saying, I don't see a Devontae Smith over there. I don't see a Jalen Waddle. Maybe they don't have one. But, you know, you can have a really good receiving core and not have those kind of guys, especially in the aggregate if you just have a bunch of really good players. And Treyshawn Holden has the opportunity to be one of a few really good players at wide receiver for Alabama this year. So those are some breakout candidates in the year of our Lord 2022.